On Christmas Eve, I woke up to an empty house. My whole family had secretly left that morning and driven off to a luxury vacation. Without me. I didn't cry. Instead, I did this. 5 days later, they came back and started screaming the moment they opened the door. I woke up to silence. Which, okay, isn't that weird in itself? I'm usually the first one up anyway, but it was Christmas Eve, and the plan was to leave together in the afternoon for our big family vacation. 5-hour drive, winter resort, extended family, matching pajamas, whatever. So I figured, all right, maybe they went out to grab snacks, or forgot eggs or whatever else you panic buy before a trip. I checked the time. 9:42 a.m. Not too late, not too early. I expected to hear my mom's voice telling someone to pack an extra sweater or my sister losing her mind over her hair straightener. Instead, nothing. The hallway light was still on from the night before, which was weird. The sink had one plate in it. Mine. I walked downstairs and looked around. No bags by the door, no coats, no keys on the hook. Also, no cars in the driveway. I tried calling my mom. Her name wasn't in my contacts. Weird, right? I tried again. Nothing. I scrolled through my contacts list. All the family numbers. Gone. Not just my mom. My dad. My siblings. Even my uncle. He was supposed to come with us. Gone. I checked the call history. Wiped clean. At this point, I was thinking, okay, either I've completely lost it or I dropped my phone in the shower and just didn't notice. But the phone was fine. Apps were there. Text threads were still open with coworkers and random people, but not a single trace of my family. Then I remembered. My younger brother had asked to borrow my phone the night before. Said he wanted to check the forecast. I'd just handed it over. Why wouldn't I? Now I knew why. I tried dialing what I thought was my mom's number from memory. A man answered. Definitely not my mom. I asked if maybe this used to belong to someone else, and he just said wrong number and hung up. I wish I could say I started panicking, but honestly, it was worse than that. I felt this slow, sinking disbelief. Like I'd walked into a prank show, but nobody had the decency to yell, "Gotcha!" The fridge was humming. The heat was on. My suitcase was still by the front door, zipped and ready. I stood there in my hoodie and socks and realized there's no way this was an accident. They didn't forget me. They left me. Still, I didn't want to believe it. I checked Instagram, Facebook, nothing. No selfies, no road trip begins boomerangs. The logistics group chat I was in, dead silent. Which told me one more thing. They were hiding it. It was intentional. Eventually, I remembered my uncle's number. He's old school and never changes it. I called. He answered, out of breath. "Hey, where are you?" "In the kitchen," I said. "At home." There was a beat of silence. Then I heard background noise. People laughing, tires crunching on snow, a distant, "Wait, is that her?" "Oh, did no one text you?" he asked. "Nope." Another laugh in the background, then my cousin's voice. "Tell her we said hi." Wait, she seriously didn't know? Uncle cleared his throat. "So, they left early this morning. Changed the plan last minute. Thought it'd be funny. Just a little prank. You know how your brother is, I didn't say anything. He kept going. They figured you'd catch up. I mean, you've got your car. 5 hours isn't bad, right?" Then a voice, sounded like my older brother, called out, "Honestly, it's kinda nice without the sarcasm patrol for once." My sister laughed. "Shh, don't tell her that." My uncle chuckled nervously. "Anyway, you're welcome to come join. Room's paid for. They left your pass at the check-in desk. You just gotta get here." I stared at the kitchen counter. at the grocery list still pinned to the fridge in my handwriting. "Yeah," I said. "Thanks for letting me know." I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there for a while. People always say betrayal hits like a punch, but this wasn't that. This was worse. This was slow, cold, like falling into a frozen lake and realizing no one's coming to pull you out. This wasn't the first time they'd pulled something like this. Not exactly this, but close. My family's always had a messed up sense of humor, always targeting me. I was the one who could take a joke, which apparently means you don't get to be mad when we hurt you on purpose. I was supposed to go on that trip. I helped pay for the rental. I paid the Wi-Fi, the electricity, the gas. I filled up the car last week. I bought groceries for the drive. I even reminded them to pack allergy meds for my sister's boyfriend, who, by the way, was invited. And they just left, as a joke. I walked back upstairs, opened my closet, pulled out the bag I'd packed. Not the suitcase by the door, the other one. The one with important documents. Sentimental stuff. A few old pay stubs I never threw out. Just in case. I sat on the edge of my bed, zipped it closed, and looked around. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry yet. That would come later. What I felt was done. Not in the dramatic, I'm done kind of way. Just done. Like a page had turned without me, and I wasn't flipping back. 5 days later, my family would come home. They'd open the door, and they'd start screaming. It didn't start with the vacation. I think people always want stories like this to have a clear turning point. This was the moment it all went bad. But it doesn't work like that. Some things rot slow. I'm the second oldest of 4. My older brother is 25, started a business that flopped, and somehow still gets called the ambitious one. Then there's me. I'm 23, working full-time since I was 18. Then my sister, 21, still in college. And finally the youngest, my brother, 18, just started his freshman year. We grew up close in age, but not close in much else. From the outside, we probably looked like your standard loud, chaotic, semi-functional family. But if you zoomed in a bit, you'd notice how often I was the punchline. How often my stuff went missing or got accidentally broken. How every joke somehow landed on me. And look, some of it was normal sibling stuff. Teasing, pranks. I get that. But it's different when the adults join in. When your mom laughs while your siblings switch out the candles on your birthday cake for hot sauce-flavored ones. When your dad says, "Relax, it's just a bit of fun," after you find your bed sheets in the freezer. It's hard to explain to people who didn't grow up like that. It doesn't feel like a big deal at the time. You tell yourself it's just their sense of humor. You become the kid who can take it. And then one day, you wake up and realize you were never in on the joke. You were the joke. I didn't go to college, not because I didn't want to, but because someone had to work. My older brother tried a startup right out of high school, burned through a loan and most of my parents' savings before it flopped. My parents called it a learning experience. When I said I wanted to work and maybe go to school later, they nodded, said they were proud. Then started handing me utility bills. At first it was small stuff. Just cover the electric, since you're earning. Then the water, then the Wi-Fi, then the groceries. Eventually the mortgage, just until things stabilize. That was 4 years ago. Meanwhile, my siblings all stayed in school or moved back in. All under the "we're still figuring it out" clause. Somehow that clause never applied to me. I don't resent the work. Honestly, in some twisted way, I liked being the one holding it together. I liked having a reason to stay grounded, but it was like they didn't even see what I was doing, like it was just expected. My younger brother once told me, "It's not like you're really paying for everything. You live here too," which is fine. I guess my room in the back of the house with the peeling wallpaper and the drafty window was my rent. You want to know the last time someone said thank you? Neither do I. I stopped counting. And still, I looked forward to the vacation. It was supposed to be all of us. The first time in years that everyone, including extended family, would be together. Skiing, fireplaces, some stupid family games. I'd even asked to help plan it. Suggested we could do a cabin rental near the lake instead of the pricey resort. I got shut down so fast it felt like I'd suggested camping in a parking lot. It's already handled, my sister said. Just show up and bring snacks, my mom added. I backed off. They started a group chat without me. At first I thought I'd been added to the wrong one, but nope. Turns out there were two. The main one and the for logistics one, which I was in. The real chat, the one with all the updates, the selfies, the inside jokes, wasn't for me. Still, I packed my bag, paid my share, booked time off work. I even offered to help cover part of the Airbnb deposit, since my older brother was cash flow tight and my sister's tuition had just gone up. I didn't mind. I wanted to be there. I wanted to belong. The week before the trip, I asked what time we were leaving. We're aiming for the afternoon, my mom said, not looking up from her phone. Just be packed and ready. I was, days in advance. I even bought a new charger for the car because the old one had been glitchy, restocked the medicine drawer, cleaned out the trunk. Stupid things that make you feel useful. Part of something. The night before, I double-checked my bag and left it by the door. I didn't say much to anyone. Neither did they. It was fine. And then Christmas Eve came, and they were gone. No note, no call, no explanation. Just the kind of silence you don't unhear. They got back 5 days later. I wasn't there. Neither was the fridge. I didn't see their faces, but I heard plenty. A neighbor I used to help with her trash cans called me the next day. I just wanted to check in, she said gently. I saw your family return. Something seemed wrong. Wrong is one word for it. There was shouting. I heard that from more than one person. The kind of shouting that carries across driveways and makes dogs bark. Not the cheerful kind. Not the welcome home kind. The couch was gone. The internet didn't work. The washer and dryer were missing. So were a few shelves, the microwave, and, apparently, my spice rack, which caused an entire argument on its own. No, really. Someone actually yelled, "Why would she take the cinnamon?" They thought they'd been robbed. Until my brother checked the Ring footage and saw me carrying out the last box, calm as anything, locking the door behind me like I was headed out for groceries. At the time, I was sitting in my new place, a small second bedroom in my best friend's apartment. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet. Mine. I was eating leftover soup and watching a dumb movie on a borrowed tablet when my phone buzzed. Then again, and again. By the time I turned it over, there were 52 missed calls, most from my mom, a handful from my sister, even a couple from my older brother, which surprised me since I can't remember the last time he called me directly. Then came the texts. "Where are you? We're calling the police. This is insane. You've gone too far. You need to come home and fix this." I didn't reply. I read them, slowly, one by one. And then I set the phone face down and went back to my soup. I hadn't planned on this. Not at first. But after the phone call from my uncle, after I realized they'd all gone off without me on purpose, laughing, joking, thinking it was just another prank, I couldn't sit there and pretend it didn't mean anything. Because it did. It meant everything. I didn't pack in a rage. I didn't tear through the house, grabbing things out of spite. It was quieter than that. Quieter than it should have been. I took what was mine. No more, no less. The fridge? That was mine. I paid for it when the old one broke and everyone else forgot to chip in. The washer and dryer? Same story. Bought with my bonus 2 years ago when my dad said we didn't need new ones. I didn't argue. I just bought them. The couch? Mine. Microwave? Me again. Wi-Fi? All under my name. I changed passwords, canceled accounts, turned in service terminations for every utility that came out of my paycheck. I left the key in the mailbox and walked out like I was finally clocking off from a job I never signed up for. The police came 2 days after they returned. Not sirens blaring dramatic, just a quiet knock on the door of my new place. The officer was polite, mid-40s, looked tired, like someone had sent him on an errand he didn't agree with. "Your family reported you missing," he said. I nodded. "They're also claiming some possible theft." I stepped aside and let him in, sat him down at the small kitchen table. Then I pulled out a folder I'd been keeping for years. Warranties, invoices, receipts, screenshots, bills, every major item I'd bought. I handed it over without a word. He flipped through it slowly. I watched his eyes pause over the fridge invoice, the Wi-Fi contract, the washer set. He closed the folder, rested his hands on it. "You've really been covering all of this?" I nodded again. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Do you want to give them your address?" "Let them know you're safe?" "No," I said. "They don't need to know where I am. I'm not missing. I just left." He gave a small nod, then passed the folder back. "You're not in trouble." Honestly, I wish half the people we get called on were this organized. He stood, paused at the door. "You sure you don't want me to pass along a message?" I looked at him, really looked, and shook my head. No. If they want answers, they can try paying for their own groceries for once. He gave me a dry smile. "Fair enough." I thought that would be the end of it, but they weren't done. 2 days after the police visit, my parents showed up at my job. I work a standard office job, fintech, customer support, mostly spreadsheets and small talk. It's the last place you expect to be ambushed by your mother. But there they were. I got a message from reception. "Your parents are here. Is everything okay?" I stepped into the lobby and saw them. My dad in his usual pressed polo, my mom in her winter coat and that tight look she gets when she's trying not to cry or scream. They looked like they'd aged 5 years in 5 days. "Can we talk?" she said. I didn't answer. My dad stepped forward. "You're seriously doing all this over a prank?" That was the first thing out of his mouth. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "We're sorry." Just, "You're being ridiculous." I didn't say anything. "You need to come home," my mom said. "This has gone too far. We need to fix this." I looked at her, really looked. "You need help, and this is still your house too. You can't just run away." That's when I spoke. "You left me first," I said. "Remember?" She opened her mouth, closed it. My dad tried again, voice rising, something about bills and responsibility and maturity. "If you don't leave," I said quietly, "I'll call security." They stood there for a beat longer. My mom looked stunned. My dad looked furious. But they left. Not quietly, not gracefully, but they left. That night, I sat on the tiny balcony of the new apartment with a cup of tea and a blanket around my shoulders. The air was cold, but I didn't mind. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. Another message. Another voicemail. I didn't look. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was bracing for something. I wasn't waiting for someone to yell my name, or ask where the Wi-Fi password went, or demand to know who was covering the gas bill. I just sat there. Let the silence stay mine for once. A couple of weeks went by. I didn't hear much from them directly. They'd finally stopped calling. Or maybe they figured out I wasn't going to pick up. Either way, the silence was nice. I filled it with small things, grocery runs, quiet dinners, a new job routine that didn't involve being the default handyman or emotional punching bag. But the silence didn't mean they were done. I got my updates from other people. The neighbor. My cousin. Once, even someone from my mom's church group sent me a very long, very uninvited message that began with, "You don't know how hard this has been on your parents." Apparently, things were falling apart back at the house. The Wi-Fi had finally gone out when the temporary modem ran out of prepaid data. My sister blamed my younger brother for not replacing it. He blamed her for changing the streaming passwords and locking him out of her Netflix profile. The electricity bill had gone unpaid for over a month, and someone had to borrow money to stop the shutoff. The fridge? Replaced. With a cheap second-hand one that made a constant humming noise. My cousin described it as sad, which I didn't ask her to do. But thanks. No one seemed to know who was responsible for what anymore. The way I heard it, every time someone opened their mouth, it turned into a fight. The group chat they used to exclude me? Dead. No one replied to anything anymore. That probably would have been enough for me, to know it was crumbling. That the house I held up for years with quiet labor and automatic payments was finally too heavy for the rest of them to carry. Complaining about someone microwaving fish in the office break room again. That's when the buzzer rang. I assumed it was delivery. I'd ordered dish soap and new sheets. I almost didn't check. But something told me to look through the security camera feed first. And there they were. All three of them. My sister, my younger brother, my older brother. Standing outside the apartment building like it was a sitcom reunion. My sister even had a little bag of snacks in one hand, like she thought this was some kind of olive branch. To this day, I still don't know how they got my address. Certainly not from me. But I imagine it took some effort. Funny what people can pull together when they're motivated by the right kind of panic. I didn't buzz them in right away. I stood at the door for a long moment, then opened it myself and walked down. "Hey," my sister said, all sunshine and casual charm, like we hadn't spent Christmas in 2 different dimensions. "We were in the area and thought, why not stop by?" Sure. Just happened to be in the neighborhood, of a building you weren't supposed to know I lived in. I didn't say anything. "We've been talking," my older brother said. "We wanted to, clear the air. Make things right," my younger brother added, trying for sincerity and landing somewhere closer to high school group project energy. They asked if they could come up. I didn't want them in my space, but I also wanted to hear what they were trying to sell, so I let them in. We sat in the living room. They offered me chips from the bag. I declined. They started slow, laughing about past pranks, playing it off like we didn't realize how much it hurt you and we didn't mean anything by it. I didn't interrupt. They said they missed me, that it hadn't been the same without me. "We even started doing game nights again," my sister said brightly. "Like when we were kids." "You should come." That's when I started to get the itch. The warning bell. Because we didn't have game nights as kids. Not really. That was a thing I tried to start once, when I was 15 and lonely. They mocked me for it. But here they were, selling nostalgia they didn't actually own. And then came the slip. My older brother, reaching for his water, said casually, "And I mean, honestly, if you moved back, it would just help stabilize things, you know?" Financially. There it was. The truth. The reason they'd tracked down my address. The reason they were sitting on my borrowed couch trying to smile like nothing happened. It wasn't about family. It wasn't about missing me. It was about money. About losing the person who made the mortgage payments quietly, who paid the Wi-Fi bill, the groceries, the streaming services, the washer, the dryer, the fridge, the background noise of their lives they never thought to question. I stood up. "You need to leave," I said. My sister blinked. "What?" "You can finish your chips in the hallway, but you're leaving." My younger brother looked at me like I'd slapped him. "But we're trying," he started. "No," I said. "You're trying to put things back the way they were." "That's not the same." They left. Not yelling this time. Not storming. Just awkward, confused, brittle silence. Like they hadn't prepared for that answer. Like they still thought I'd cave. Weeks passed. Eventually, I heard the rest through my cousin. Again. After that visit, things got worse. Everyone started blaming each other. My younger brother said it was my sister's idea to leave me behind in the first place. She said it was my older brother. He swore it was just group energy. They stopped speaking altogether. One by one, they moved out. My sister moved in with a friend. My younger brother went to stay with a classmate. My older brother couch-hopped for a while, then ended up in a rented room an hour outside the city. My parents, unable to carry the mortgage alone, sold the house, moved into a cramped rental in a town no one can pronounce. The group chat? Deleted. Family dinners? Gone. Everyone's living separate lives now, spread across places they never wanted to end up. No one speaks. Not really. Not to each other. Certainly not to me. The other night, I made dinner with my roommate. Just pasta and sauce. Nothing fancy. We opened a cheap bottle of wine and watched something trashy on TV. At one point, he looked over and said, "You've been smiling a lot more lately." You know that? I hadn't noticed. But I believed him. After he went to bed, I sat out on the little balcony, blanket over my knees, mug of tea in my hand, just breathing in the cold, still air. No noise, no texts, no weight on my chest. Just peace. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to be free. And now I am. They used to say I wasn't really part of the family. Turns out they were right. I was the foundation, and they didn't notice until I walked out. Sometimes I still wonder if I went too far. Not often, but sometimes. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.